Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health. Welcome aboard. This is my March 20th, 2020 update on the coronavirus. My main message here, fear not. There is nothing to fear but ignorance. And I'm here to tell you that if you are smart enough to be able to do simple math, then you can understand, in point of fact, because numbers don't lie, that there is nothing to fear about the coronavirus for most people. Let's take a look at it from the proper perspective, because like the fella said, from the proper perspective, everything makes sense. In the 2017 to 2018 flu season, the flu broke all kinds of records. This was just a couple of years ago. These numbers, of course, from the Centers for Disease Control. Let's take a look at it. Influenza killed 80,000 people in that season. 80,000 people. That's a bit higher than in previous seasons, but nonetheless, it was high. Generally speaking, between 56,000 60,000 people a year die from influenza in the United States of America. This particular season, 2017 to 2018, was really high, with 80,000 people dead. It's a big number. If you crunch those numbers, the percentage was nearly 11%, but that's high. 11% of people who got it died from it. That's pretty high, right? So 2 years ago, 80,000 people die, an 11% mortality rate from the virus. Now let's compare this with what is going on now. These numbers straight from the website from Johns Hopkins University. This is up to date as of today. In the United States of America, as of March 20th, 2020, 16,638 people have been infected with coronavirus. Now, because the testing hasn't been rolled out efficiently, there may be many more people that have been infected with the coronavirus, right? Which is going to drive the survivorship numbers even higher, the death rates even lower. But let's just look at these numbers. 16,638 people that we know have been infected with it, and of those, 216 have died. 216 have died. So you can do rudimentary math. That is a 1.3% death rate. 1.3% of the people who have been infected with the coronavirus in the United States of America die from it. 1.3%. Remember 2 years ago? 11%? Which number is bigger? 1.3% or 11%? I'll give you a minute. Think about that. Talk amongst your friends. Phone a friend. 11%. Much, 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 much higher. For goodness sakes, I've been telling you this for 3 weeks now. I kind of feel like I'm beating a dead horse. The people who are dying from the COVID-19 virus are mostly the elderly people, people with pre-existing health conditions, and I'm going to talk to you a minute about that. But you do, just from a numbers point of view, there was, 2 years ago, there wasn't a national emergency. There wasn't a shutdown of everything. There wasn't a quarantine of everything. Now, you can theorize as to why that's happening right now, and I'm right there with you. There are lots of theories percolating in the public consciousness about why this is happening, but in point of fact, right? I mean, how many people die every day from, more people die from drunk driving accidents than die from the coronavirus. And 2 years ago, the influenza virus that swept through the country was 10 times worse. But there was no emergency, no shutdown, no nothing. But now there is. And inquiring minds would like to know why. We also must keep some simple data points in mind when we are attempting to sort this. According to the Central Intelligence Agency in the United States of America, life expectancy in Italy is 82 years of age. Life expectancy in China is 76 years of age. Let me get rid of the beating the dead horse thing. Although it's pretty funny. Right? So, I mean, when you look at the numbers of the people that died in China, the people that died in Italy, it's mostly elderly people with pre-existing health conditions. So, you know, if you're not elderly, if you're not especially Asian, and if you're not an Asian male, you probably don't need to worry about this. And this also begs the question, why weren't we worrying 10 times more 2 years ago? What is all the hubbub about now? Now, is it horrible if one person dies? Yeah. From an infectious illness? It is. However, remember, ladies and gentlemen, from the proper perspective, everything makes sense. And this is my raison d'etre, right? Helping you to understand what seem to be complicated subjects, medical subjects, from the proper perspective, because from the proper perspective, everything makes sense. So, in this culture, the older that you get, the sicker that you get, right? In the 21st century, the older that you get, the sicker that you get. And why is that? Well, nobody's talking about that. The naturopaths are talking about it. I've been talking about this for 12 years now in the public forum. In the United States, we don't have a free medical market. We haven't had a free medical market since 1912. That's 108 years of monopolization of the medical marketplace by the pharmaceutical industry and the American Medical Association in the United States, the MDs. The MDs are fantastic at trauma care and surgery when it's necessary, and a handful of infectious diseases. Not viral infections, for goodness sakes. The reason that people get sicker the older that they get is because they use MD-directed allopathic medicine for everything. An MD-directed allopathic medicine for chronic disease does not attempt to cure the chronic disease. It simply manages it with pharmaceuticals. Now, is it better to manage the heart disease with a drug than to die from it? Well, yes, it is. But as you are under the influence of a pharmaceutical and MD-directed pharmaceutical centrist care, your body gets weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. In direct contradistinction to this medical model stands the naturopathic community, the licensed naturopathic community. Our patients don't get sicker the older that they get, because when they come to us with asthma or high blood pressure or eczema or fibromyalgia or anxiety and panic attacks, the intention of the naturopathic therapeutic is to cure the illness. We attempt to cure the illness. And the naturopathic treatments strengthen the body. It doesn't weaken the body, it strengthens the body. So the older that you get, your health remains the same. I'm 61 years of age. I'm on 0 prescription meds, and if you go to my website, I'm going to post my recent blood work and the blood work that I had a year ago and the blood work that I had 30 years ago, and you can look to see. And I don't enjoy the state of health that I enjoy because of my genetics. I don't. It's because for the last, 40, 50 years of my life, I have employed holistic medicine to help me when I'm sick. And President Trump is, I'm disappointed in President Trump because in his original press conference of about a week ago, right, when he declared the national emergency, we all have to come together as a country. Well, if that in point of fact is true, then why haven't the naturopaths been invited to the task force? Why haven't the Ayurvedic doctors been invited to the task force? Why haven't the herbalists been invited to the task force? Naturopathic medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, these types of medicine are all licensed and regulated. Licensed and regulated. So why haven't we been given a seat at the table? Because we don't have a free medical market. pharmaceutical industry is not interested in holistic therapeutics which attempt to cure this condition and or which strengthen the body into the bargain. Not interested in that. I was listening to Tucker Carlson the other night. I had to turn it off. Oh, science is going to fix this. Let me tell you something. It already has. Now, early next week, I'm going to be producing, I want you to watch out for it, I'm going to be producing a mini documentary where I will be interviewing the world's most prominent Ayurvedic doctors, naturopathic doctors, homeopathic doctors, and they're all going to be talking about what to do in order to make your body healthy. Not only during influenza season, but all the time. Because, you know, in the years to come, would you rather face the stress of an influenza epidemic with a strong body or with a weak body? Strong bodies win every time. You know, it's glaringly obvious to me now. I thought that there was going to be a little window of opportunity for my profession to, you know, be invited to the big tent. It's not going to happen. The conversation is all now about vaccines and pharmaceuticals and vaccines and pharmaceuticals and vaccines and pharmaceuticals. Meanwhile, the holistic therapeutics, which have been documented in massive worldwide studies to be more effective than vaccinations for influenza outbreaks and infectious disease outbreaks, are completely ignored. We don't have a free medical market, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't had a free medical market for a long time, and people are dying because of it. So, you don't need to be afraid of the coronavirus. You don't need to be any more afraid of the coronavirus than you need to be afraid of any other influenza virus. You just don't. Numbers don't lie. And stay tuned. I'm going to be going directly to the leading experts in the world to bring you comfort through knowledge about what is really going on in the wonderful world of holistic, licensed and regulated treatment for upregulating the immune system and, in this case, COVID-19. I am and always will be your steadfast advocate for health, Dr. Peter Glidden. Thanks so much for your time. Stay tuned. I'll be bringing you my mini documentary next week.